I love it. But yeah, I think I mean there has to be some sort of goal to go towards, but there's short-term goals, there's long-term goals, and then there's the purposely ridiculous goals, which I think there's stuff that you need like, okay, I want to get this done today. And then there's I want to get this done by this month. I want to get this done by this year. And I want to get this done as like my life's work kind of a thing. And I think the goalposts are constantly moving. And yeah, I think that there's something that I used to call the simplicity of the struggle versus the complexity of success, and like
Okay.
when when you're just trying and grinding away and you're like, I got to pay this bill, I got to, get to work at this time, I have to do all these things. It's all of your decisions are made up for you by necessity, and once all those necessities are covered and you have all of these options in front of you, when necessity isn't making your decisions for you, that's when things kind of get complicated. And that's when yeah, when the destination kind of gets blurry, and you really
Interesting.
have to reassess and really figure out where you want to go. And that's something that I think when you reach destination is when you realize that like this is not really the end point. This is just the fork, the fork in the road. We have to figure out the next point. And so yeah, there's never really an end to it until like, you decide like, okay, I'm done now. I'm gonna go cuddle my dog.
Right.
But yeah, that there's never a last goal until like you really decide it. But I've never reached it, so I don't even know what that looks like.
Gotcha. And you said one thing, a ridiculously absurd goal or something. Do you always, and have you always throughout your life, have you always had goals? Always, or no?
I mean, from when I was 6, I decided I was going to win the Olympics. Yes. And then after the Olympics, I was like, I'm gonna try and just be happy bartending. And then that didn't work. I was like, I'm gonna try and go back to judo. That didn't work. I'm gonna do MMA. Okay, did that. And then after that, I was like, I gotta like reassess and get to know who I am outside of that. You know what I mean? Because when I was in judo, like my entire personality was like kind of molded by that environment. And I had to step away from that environment to kind of get to know myself again. I call it a journey of self discovery and what my likes and dislikes are away from that previous obsession. And that's when I discovered MMA. And then when I took a step from MMA and got to know myself again outside of that world, that's when, I found WWE. And since taking a step away from that, like finding, my next passion or goal or whatever. And I think it's kind of hard to figure out exactly what you want to do next when you're still in the thick of the last thing. And I always try to take some separation and get to know myself outside of that environment again, before making the next major decision, the next major crazy goal. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So what do you say to the listener right now who's like, man, I don't really have a goal. I don't know how to make goals because the people listening are trying to get forward movement. They're trying to move upward. So what do you say to someone who isn't operating on a goal based thought process?
I think that that process of finding it isn't wasted time. Like that year that I spent after judo, like bartending, when I decided I wanted to do MMA, at first I was like, "Oh my god, I wasted so much time. I could have been a year ahead of where I am now. I should have just gone straight from judo, right into MMA." But in that time where I felt like I was in limbo, I actually was still learning things that really paid off that I didn't realize later. I was extremely introverted. I had a really hard time like speaking to people I didn't know about things I didn't know about. I basically, if you didn't do judo, I couldn't really talk to you. And if you did judo, I could only talk to you about judo. But being a bartender taught me how to deal with media and everything like that. It was a really disarming environment. It was like, okay, you are behind the bar. People are here to get alcohol. You have the alcohol. They already want you to like them. This is the best part of their day. They want to be happy. Okay. I'm already starting off ahead. You already have
Mhm.
something to talk about. you have, they want alcohol, you're going to give it to them. This is a
Mm.
conversation you can do over and over again. You can be
Right.
good at it. And so it taught me of how to get in conversations with strangers from scratch, how to get them to like me quickly, and how to have the same conversation over and over again, but to be just as engaged and likable every single time, which is basically what media is. And so I was learning skills that I was going to need later without knowing it. And being at the bar
Love
and
it.
seeing MMA on TV and talking to the patrons and breaking down fights and them being like, "You don't know what you're talking about," and me being offended of like, "I'm the baddest bitch on the planet. You don't even know this, man." Like that was the journey of self discovery. Is I
Mm.
had to be a bartender to figure out that I
Yeah.
wanted to do MMA, and I had to be a bartender to learn the skills that I needed that judo didn't teach me, which was how to be quick-witted and likable and approach people and all of these different skills. So even if you don't think you're really in pursuit of a goal, you are on your way and on your journey. You're going to find it out. And I think being patient with that process of finding out what your next passion is part of it. Just because it's not like the Rocky montage, part of the journey doesn't mean it isn't part of it.
Right.